Hey Eagle fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into Philadelphia Eagles Now. Before we jump into today's video, make sure you guys are subscribed. We are less than 200 subscribers away from 19,000 subscribers. First 19, then 20,000. Need you guys' help. Go down below if you are not a subscriber and hit the red subscribe button. That way you get notified when we have the latest and greatest Eagles news, rumors, and then of course, depth chart previews like we're talking about in today's video. All right, let's jump into another part in the series that I'm working on here on the channel, and that is looking through every single position group on Philadelphia going into 2021 and breaking down the key players and maybe some younger guys who can arise and contribute at a high level. So today, it is the defensive line depth chart. We've gone through linebackers, we've gone through obviously the running backs, we've gone through wide receivers, and now we land here on the defensive line. So this is easily the overall best position group Philadelphia has. It's not even close. It's the one position group on the Philadelphia Eagles that can be top 3 in the NFL. I think the offensive line can be top 5 this year. I think the defensive line can be top 3, maybe even the best. They are absolutely loaded, and they added some good pieces as well. Now, the question is really going to be who's going to be the opposite defensive end of Brandon Graham in the starting lineup. I have Josh Sweat right now on your screen, but they're going to rotate guys in there, and we'll talk more about that position here a little bit later on. But this is a group led by Fletcher Cox and Jayvon Hargrave, and then they have 4, count them, Sweat, Graham, Kerrigan, and Derek Barnett in pass rushers who can all be very, very good and very, very disruptive. This has very much the same vibes as the 2017 group that was unreal dominant throughout the entire, not only regular season, but postseason as well, and it could be even better if some of the guys like Ryan Kerrigan and Josh Sweat really go ahead and step up. So let's start with the leader of the group and the guy who's been in the headlines in Philadelphia a lot over the past couple of weeks, and that, of course, is Fletcher Cox. Now, there is that report that Cox is he's not unhappy with his current contract because he's got 2 years left and is making like $15 million a year, but wants another extension. Philadelphia, not quite sure they want to give it to him just yet because he is on the wrong side of 30. This is a big year for him. I mean, this is a year that he's going to have to go ahead and be really, really good because Cox can take this defensive line group, all the way to the moon. I mean, they can literally, like I said, be a top 3 defensive line unit, especially if Cox is A, healthy, and 2, dominant, because even though he's been dominant his entire career, there have been certain stretches during certain seasons where he's been a little bit less than what you would expect. If he's playing at an all-pro level, this defensive line, like I said, can go very, very far. He needs to have a monster year, not just because obviously it's going to help out Philadelphia, it's going to help out everybody else around him. If other teams always have to double Fletcher Cox because they can't win one-on-one, that means Jayvon Hargrave has one-on-one opportunities. That means Brandon Graham has one-on-one opportunities, and that means that Ryan Kerrigan, Josh Sweat, and Derek Barnett all have one-on-one opportunities as well. It starts with Cox, and then, of course, Philadelphia just builds around that with, again, all the other great players we're going to talk about here in today's video. Be a pinned comment down below. Answer this question. I think the answer is yes, but here, we'll see what you guys think before we keep going. Do the Eagles have a top 5 defensive line unit right now in the entire National Football League? There are a lot of good D-line units out there. Does Philadelphia have one of the best ones in the top 5? Type Y down below for yes, type N down below for no in the pinned comment. All right, Fletcher Cox's partner in crime, and a guy I'm very excited to see play this year, is Jayvon Hargrave. So Hargrave, of course, comes over from Pittsburgh in free agency. He didn't do much the first 5-6 games of his first season in Philadelphia, and then boom, in the second half of last year, Jayvon Hargrave went absolutely ballistic, and one was the main reasons why they were very comfortable in letting Malik Jackson go this offseason, because they rotated Jackson and Hargrave together, and eventually it was just Hargrave playing the entire time because he was absolutely dominant in the final half of the year in 2020. Now, again, if Fletcher Cox is being great, how do you defend Fletcher Cox and Jayvon Hargrave right next to each other, snap in and snap out from an offensive line perspective, taking on Philadelphia's defensive line? I think the stats right now for Jayvon Hargrave in 2021 can be double what you see on your screen right now. If he plays all 17 games, I think he can be at least at 8 sacks. 6 minimum, but 8 sacks there, double the tackles, and double the quarterback hits, because again, he wasn't very productive and took him a little bit of time to get going last year, and so you figure 4.5 sacks, most of which came during the latter half of the year. If he plays like he did latter half of the year this year and get that in the first half of the year, this can be a very dominant player, and I think you could even have a Pro Bowl year out of Jayvon Hargrave if everything goes very, very well. I mentioned the sacks need to double. I'm thinking we're going to go over on this question here. Over under 6 sacks for Jayvon Hargrave in 2021. If it's under, I think you have a disappointing year. Now, if it's like 5 and he has a bunch of a bunch of quarterback hits, then maybe that's fine. I think you go over here on the over-under for 6 sacks for Jayvon Hargrave, but let me know what you guys think down below right now. We mentioned it before, less than 200 away from 19,000 subscribers. Remember when I had 0 subscribers on this channel? We've grown it all the way to 19,000. I appreciate all the love and support you guys give me, the DMs on Twitter, the comments down below in the comment section. But if you're new, or if you just like the channel and aren't a subscriber, just go ahead and go down below and hit that red subscribe button, because 1, I want to get to 19,000, and 2, I'd greatly appreciate it and it helps out the channel grow as well. All right, let's move over to our best pass rusher here in our D-line depth chart preview. Brandon Graham, who is old, yes, but he's been, a staple in Philadelphia for 10 years. It was 2010 whenever they drafted him out of Michigan. And listen, he's had better statistical years than last year, but last year was his best overall year in Philadelphia. First nod to the Pro Bowl, which is criminal. He's only had one Pro Bowl, but this is a guy who not only is, to me, the true embodiment of the city of Philadelphia, but he's also the only guaranteed defensive end starter on the defensive line from a defensive end perspective. Like I just said earlier in the video, you got guys like Kerrigan and Josh Sweat and and Derek Barnett, who we will talk about, but Graham is the only one who's guaranteed a starting spot because he's just so darn productive. And it's not just in the pass rush game. Yes, he had 8 sacks last year, but the hits behind the line, and obviously the run stopping ability as well of Brandon Graham have been absolutely fantastic. This is a guy who is going to, in my opinion, only capitalize on what he did in 2020. He needs to stay healthy, but he can be the leader to get all the other young pass rushers that they have to get the most that they possibly can out of them, aka, of course, Derek Barnett and Josh Sweat. Very pumped to see what Brandon Graham does this year, and very excited about his recognition nationally last year, getting his very first Pro Bowl nod. Now, I mentioned the other pass rushers. We'll group them together. Here's the deal. Graham's going to start, Cox is going to start, Hargrave is going to start. Who will be the other starter? That's a real camp battle that's going to be going on, not just right now, but all the way through training camp up until week 1. You have Ryan Kerrigan, the savvy veteran who didn't play a lot last year in Washington, but still feels like he can give you a burst of former excellence at any time going into 2021. I love signing him this offseason. You have Josh Sweat, who might be the best young pass rusher on this football team, really emerged last year, and I think should be the starter based on what he did in 2020. And of course, Derek Barnett. They thought about maybe trading him, thought about not exercising his 5th-year option. Instead, they did. They're going to pay him $10 million. He needs to have a similar year to his rookie year where he was very dominant back in 2017. I mentioned Sweat. The guy had 6 sacks last year in 14 games. You remember, he never started at the defensive end position. There were a couple of games where he was mixed in there, but it wasn't like, okay, Sweat is officially the starter on the outside because they were always trying to get him and Derek Barnett and rotating guys in and around that position. If he can take what he did in 2020 and just give you 30% more, and it's like 8 sacks, 9 sacks, this is going to be a very, very good pass rusher. And the writing's been on the wall with him for a while because we felt like he could always be a breakout star out of Florida State. He's been able to stay healthy, which is key. I'm very excited to see what Josh Sweat is going to be able to do. I think Derek Barnett is probably the short end of the stick here in terms of snaps. I think his production has gone down over the past couple of years, but we can't forget that he's a first-round draft pick and a sack machine at Tennessee and was very good early on in his career. Maybe the emergence of Kerrigan and obviously Josh Sweat, they can push Derek Barnett to be better, plus it will be a contract year for him, and so if he wants to get signed in Philadelphia or somewhere else, he's got to have a good year. The good news is that Philadelphia has a lot of these other pass rushers to mix in, and again, I look back to 2017 where they would rotate Chris Long in there, and they would just have all the different fresh bodies to go ahead and get you a sack when they needed. This defensive end unit is going to be very, very fun and very, very good. Now, I want to finish here on Milton Williams because there are obviously other pass rushers and other defensive linemen we're going to talk about here in just a second, but Milton Williams I want to focus on before we go ahead and wrap this video up. The 2021 third-round draft pick is, to me, a very interesting prospect because a lot of people are raving about him at OTAs. Jayvon Hargrave said he looks NFL ready already. It was kind of a surprise draft pick because they already do have like a guy like Hassan Ridgeway and obviously Jayvon Hargrave, but they took him in the 3rd round for a reason. They see him as a potential Fletcher Cox replacement, and so I'm curious to see what kind of production you can get out of him in his first year. He's going to rotate a defensive tackle spot, so you're not going to expect him to play a ton of snaps, but if Fletcher Cox or Jayvon Hargrave needs a spell, maybe the rookie can come in and show that Philadelphia has the future defensive tackle in-house and ready to go, and it's in the name of Milton Williams as a 3rd-round draft pick. He was very, very productive in college. Obviously, that's why he went in the 3rd round, and again, the big question is how NFL ready is he, and everything I've read from OTAs and heard from the players during their press conferences is that he has been one of the more standout, impressive players so far over the past couple of weeks at the OTAs. Okay, let's finish up here on the other defensive end, guys. There are obviously more than just the people that we talked about here. Ridgeway, again, rotating in there, defensive tackle spot. He'll probably be mixing in with the Milton Williams for snaps in terms of actually getting on the football field. Then you have some of the younger guys, like a Taron Jackson. What does Taron Jackson provide? Some say he's very NFL ready, although a late-round draft pick. Not sure if he's going to be able to do a lot. You have Matt Leo as well. These are all people who are going to be battling for positions and battling for roster spots. Some might go to the practice squad, but obviously the other defensive end guys had to go ahead and be mentioned in today's video. Okay, before we go ahead and end our preview of the defensive line here on Philadelphia Eagles Now YouTube YouTube channel. Use the hashtag Eagles to get in on a weekend mailbag. Yes, it is almost the middle of the week, which means we're going to get to a mailbag video in the coming days. So if you have any questions for me, go down below, use the hashtag Eagles. I'm going to look at this video and go down below and find subscribers who asked questions, and I will pull the best ones I can for a weekend mailbag, as we always do. All right, ultimate for today here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. Again, I'm your host, Thomas Mott. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Again, we approached 19,000 subs. Need your help to go ahead and do it. We go ahead and sign off. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.